My girlfriend's out right now, so I'm on dog duty. She's gonna be here for the video because she can't be left alone. Not that she can't be left alone, it's just she refuses to be left alone. I promise I'm not using her to fish for likes, but if you wanna like the video because of her, go for it. You wanna say hi, Bella? She doesn't care. Anyway, thanks for the great reception on the last few videos. I'm working on another video about how to get the feature film look with no lighting. I'll try to have that out soon, but it's a bit of work. So in the meantime, I figured I'd put this one out real quick. So back when I was in film school, I shot a thesis film, and it being a thesis film run entirely by students, there was a lot of stuff going on. Where I went to school, we were all given 3 days to shoot our films. My film specifically had a 28-page script. Now, in my opinion, 3 days is not enough time to shoot 28 pages. We needed to get a lot of coverage and we just did not have enough time. So this resulted in this mixed bag of results where I would have shots like these followed directly by shots like these. And the reason I bring this up is because we're all used to watching these movies with stunning cinematography from beginning to end. They have great lighting, they have great composition, great camera moves, they're just consistent films. And this becomes the expectation that we put on ourselves as young up-and-coming cinematographers. We want our films to look like that. The thing about these films, however, is that they have the power of studios behind them. They have the budget, they have the time, they have the manpower, they have the resources. It's very easy to make a stunning film when you're shooting like 3 pages of a script a day. Sometimes these films are spending entire days on just one shot. This is just not the luxury you're gonna have while operating at the indie level as a cinematographer. There's usually gonna have to be compromise and sacrifice. And it's really easy to get discouraged after a day of shooting where you wrap and you look back and you have a handful of beautiful shots, but then you have a handful of shots that really didn't go as planned. I understand this feeling, it really sucks. So I wanted to talk about some things that you can do as a cinematographer to try and make sure that that doesn't happen. I had a conversation with my professor in college after I wrapped my thesis. I was really bummed about some of the scenes in my thesis film. They just didn't come out how I wanted them to. He gave me some great advice that I still hold on to today, and it was about the balance of composition and lighting. Let's imagine that lighting and composition exists on a spectrum. You have one on each side. Maybe you're on set and your location just pulled out last second. The producers are scrambling to find a new place to film. They find one, but now you're very unprepared. You didn't scout this place, so you don't have any reference frames for where you want to put the camera, nor do you have the lighting equipment. And you definitely don't have enough time to figure out a solution to both of those things. Try focusing on one of those two things. Let's say you're in a really tight space that doesn't give you a lot of room for an interesting camera move or that frame that you really want. Well, let's focus on making the lighting really unique and interesting. Let's say you're shooting outside and you don't have the grip equipment to shape the sun the way you'd like to. Try to come up with a really unique and interesting way to compose the shot, or maybe even throw in a really cool camera move. Great lighting can excuse composition, and strong composition can excuse lighting. If you can't do both, just do one really well. Now I'm gonna talk about zone of interest again because it seems to just be a good reference for a lot of the things I want to talk about. If you look into the way that that film was shot, it was shot almost entirely with available light. The filmmakers wanted the actors to exist in these spaces without any of the hindrances of being on a film set. Film crew in the way, the cameras, the lighting, so they just didn't really do any lighting and they hid the cameras around the house to get the shots. And there are plenty of scenes of characters walking around outside in the high noon sunlight, which is the time of day that cinematographers dread. And all these shots didn't even matter to me because the composition and the camera moves were so effective in driving this story that I didn't even care about the flashy lighting. They did a really good job at building this world and putting you in it. And this is honestly something that's so simple you can do it yourself. You can go outside and you can shoot in the high noon sun too if you put your focus and your effort into finding other ways to make it interesting. And that's exactly what I had to do this last summer on a feature I was shooting. It was a super low budget indie film. The majority of it was outside in the sun. We were shooting 13 to 14 pages a day, which is a lot of pages. We moved so fast that I barely ever had time to even set up a 6x6 frame of anything. So I decided to shoot the film on old vintage anamorphic lenses, and I went for this handheld long lens look very reminiscent of the Safdie brothers movies. I felt like that would give an interesting look and energy to even the most mundane scenes, and it did. I think it paid off. And speaking of long form content, this idea of focusing on either the lighting or the composition, this can apply to entire scenes as well. If you're shooting a bigger short film or a feature, you can dabble with sacrificing a little bit of the cinematography for a scene or two so that you can pull out all the stops on the one that's way more crucial to the story. It's all about learning where to allocate that focus, because at the end of the day, as a cinematographer, it's your job to capture that film on time and without going over budget. And in the world of film, time is money. You might need to sacrifice that shot that you really want just so you can stay on schedule. And if you decide to fight for that shot, be potentially ready to make a compromise elsewhere. And if you're doing your job perfectly and it is something else completely that's putting you behind schedule, you're gonna have to be the one to have that discussion on what shots you want to cut and what you want to combine just so you can stay on time. People think that being a cinematographer is getting to make cool shots with nice cameras and lenses. But majority of the job and the most important parts of the job are going to be delegating on set, staying on schedule, and having those tough conversations with producers where they need you to save the day because wardrobe forgot a pair of shoes and now you're 3 hours behind. The actual image that you are capturing with the camera is the smallest part of the job. That is just the result of the enormous amount of work that you've put in before you even press record. As a cinematographer, you're a decision maker, so next time you're up against a wall, lighting or composition, I don't know, give it a try.